got I'll share the screen, a couple of bits on the corner of the bit to go through. I updated the Mac the other day, and
Okay.
getting always these pop-ups now. Allow this, allow that. Yeah, that's as exciting as I get with Apple now. I used to be an Apple fanboy. Now I'm just like,
Man, but it is great. Like having like I used to be a Windows guy. I used to build my own computers and stuff like that. And now, wait, man. Once I move into Mac, yeah, you pay more, of course, but everything works. Like you don't have to fuck around with anything like that or anything like that. So everything just works, man. And yeah, that's what you pay for, I guess.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yeah. Like when I ask Siri to do the simplest task in the world, such as play a song, and she's like, "You have no active timers," and it's like, my wife's like, "Why don't we get more things for a smart home?" And I'm like, could you imagine that? Having your front door with Siri, you ask her to open the front door, if you know what I mean, the TV comes on. You ask her
Oh,
again to
that's
open the front
yeah.
door, your
That
machine comes on. Like, just what is this?
that's gonna be interesting. Yeah.
Nice. Well, all right. Just looking at the comments coming in. How are we doing, everybody? How bullish is everybody feeling today? Let's have a percentage out of 100.
Yeah.
How bullish are you feeling today? Bulls first and then bears after that. So out of 100, what kind of numbers we get? 90, 100, 55, 80, 60, 75. All right. Generally bullish. Any bears out there? Any bears out there? Anybody thinking that we could go in the opposite direction from the point that we're in now and the direction that we're going in? So I suppose if you're a bear, give me a thumb up or something like that. Let me know that you're out there and you're thinking that the market could dip from here, because that's what makes a market at the end of the day.
Correct.
Two people that think differently. One thinks it's going to go up, one thinks it's going to go down, and then one of you has to be wrong. One last shakeout. Pullbacks are just a normal part of trading. Yeah, absolutely. So Robert's really hit the jackpot there. The pullbacks are a normal part of trading, and not only are they a normal part of trading, they're a healthy part of trading as well. If we just shoot up to $100,000 tomorrow, it's not really very good for anyone. Post US election, 90%. Interesting. All right. Okay. Well, let's have a look at some of the usual charts that we look at then. So we'll be fully aware of these three Bitcoin time frames, the day, the week, and the month. So I'm going to start off on the week, and I've drawn a new line. After 7 months of looking at this, I've drawn one new line. That's what you call hardcore charting. So this line here, and these lines, they are subjective. You'll have heard Scott say this before. Why did you start it here, Ian, and not here, and not here, and not here? When I'm drawing a line like that, I try and look for the most obvious. I try and look, well, that looks to be like, the most relatable high point to kind of where we are here, so that I can draw a downtrend as such, because that's what we're trying to capture, is a downtrend. And as we can see, we've broken this downtrend, and now we've gone past what is 7 a.m. for me. We've had the weekly close above this downtrend in line. And that's just fantastic. Okay, so a picture perfect breakout then is when you break out past the line, and then you retest it, and then off you go again. That's picture perfect. It doesn't have to happen that way. You can break out and then you can keep on going. It doesn't tend to keep on going forever. It does tend to pull back a little bit later on. So let's have a look at this on the daily, because what am I expecting now? Am I expecting this just to just to blast off to Mars? Well, I'm not too sure. So this is the same line that is on that weekly chart, okay? Todd says, yes, Ian, but to be fair, the top of the wick to the top of the second wick, to be fair. I mean, you can do that if you want, but then you've got these positions of outliers, and I just don't know if that downtrend would be as accurate as that. So if you wanted to take it down to candle bodies, then you could manipulate it as candle bodies, but I still don't see that being the downtrend. Anyway, as I said, it's arbitrary, it's discretionary, so I don't care. Draw your own line, come up with your own conclusion. That's ultimately what we're trying to achieve, you know, so that you can open up a chart, you can draw a line, and you can be like, all right, I think that this is broken out. What do we know about breakout trades? People from the leverage course will know this. We know that breakout trades can be a bit of an ass to deal with, because you can break out and then you move sideways for 3 or 4 days. So that's what I'm expecting now, is just a little bit of sideways action. So we might even come down, and and retest that line again at around sort of 64 something from there. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So you can have a retest and you can have a volatile retest, and there's a huge difference between the two. A retest, what I'm thinking is happening here, I'm only expecting it maybe to come down and kiss the line. That's it. A volatile retest would be if I was expecting these great big wicks to occur. That's when I'd be thinking, oh, this could be more of a volatile retest. But I think it's just going to be, you know, just a normal kind of kiss and then go. And then the next target is going to be that blue line that's roughly about the center of the chart. So we got the breakout, we're going through the retest, and then I'm going to just jam it straight in there without any grease. 80% chance, 85% chance after the retest that we're going to that blue line, okay? And then we'll see how it interacts with with the blue line.
Ian's going in raw.
Oh yeah,
he's going all in, man, all in.
Yeah, dude, now's the time.
It is. Everybody spent a couple of weeks getting clean.
Look at that monthly chart. Oh,
things are looking nice. Now, there's a couple of spicy things that we can throw in here. So this is the monthly chart on the Bitcoin dominance that we looked at last week. Okay. Now, what we said last week is that, make this candle a bit bigger, like where we were last week, this level is pretty important historically. Whenever Bitcoin dominance has interacted with this level, we've seen it pretty much shoot and take off. And that's where we are. So it looks like we're going to get a close below that kind of 58 at the moment. That's no bad thing. Let's see what happens next. I mean, look at Bitcoin dominance. It's dominant. And when it's dominant, it'll suck it'll suck everything out of the market, because people are literally like, the Bitcoin's going, and then don't care about the altcoins until the altcoins are going. And this is what people do. They kind of jump in and out, but we'll keep an eye on all of them. Because if we have a look at, now this is the other line that I've drawn. 7 months of doing this, and I've drawn 2 lines in the last 7 months, but these are important lines.
That's an important line, dude.
That is an important line. Now, if you look at the structure of this, and anybody that watches Maurizio's daily videos, and when we get onto Maurizio's section in a minute, have a look at this breakout structure. What does it remind you of? A hell of a lot of coins that are breaking out right now. A hell of a lot of those coins that are in Scott's emails with the spaghetti charts being the #1 picks, they probably look like this. So exactly like we just talked about with Bitcoin and coming out of a breakout, and that a breakout, people in the leverage boot camp know this, a breakout can be a bit of a tit because it might go sideways for a few days. We're looking at the weekly chart here, but again, we've had.
Well, look at the pattern off the lows, Ian. What pattern do you see at the very lows?
Well, exactly. Here we go. Then we got the lowest low in bars, higher close, lower close, and then we're off to the races for the breakout. Now we've got the weekly retest, and is it tomorrow?
And that's a weekly, and that's a weekly chart. So obviously that's a very strong indicator.
It is. So this relates to coins that are breaking out. If this thing's breaking out, there's other coins that are breaking out. But then we've also got this, like, Bitcoin is still like, hang on a minute, boys, I'm still the boss here. And Bitcoin could get super, super dominant. Anyway, that's pretty much where I am. I've got a few other theories floating around, but I haven't got too much to back them up. Like my main thing that I've got in the back of my head is we're going to have a lovely run on alts. But if Bitcoin dominance keeps getting dominant, then we could see something of a pullback from those alts before we really. But that's getting a bit too far away from this is what you can look at the chart, this is what you can see. So at that point, I'll hand it over to the two big brains.
I might go next because I'm really interested to take some notes on Maurizio's stuff today. So I might get my stuff out of the way first, if that's okay with you, dude.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so share screen. Couple of points I want to make. It's not really that Bitcoin is going up. It's how is Bitcoin going up? Let's look at the structure off the lows. We had an extreme flush out. This was a hateful day, right? This was even worse. This was when I was starting to get actual legitimate hate mail. There was John, is John here?
No, I don't think so. Maybe.
Oh, I mean, I kind of promised to stop dunking on you, but pick a finger, any finger. Hey, you like me now, motherfucker? So the bitching happened in our group on this day and this day. This is a highly reliable thing. When the pitchforks come out for us, you motherfuckers promised us Lambos. You can just take it to the bank. You just go all in when you see that shit. Except I already was all in. So now, so in terms of major structure, like Ian talked about very, very well, we've got a retest of the lows. So until this point around here, we had this structure of lower highs and lower lows. We're in a downtrend. This little move kind of broke the cycle. We called the bottom here because this was the major weekly retest. This is why we called the bottom here. But let's look at, so what we should be looking for is not is the price going up? How is it going? So let's look at how far did we go from the lows before we got a pullback? We went a pretty far way. And what was the pullback like? Pullback was pretty shallow and immediately reversed. This is really positive signs here. Back then, I was comfortable. Back at this day here, I was comfortable saying, okay, we called the bottom here. We get more confidence. Oh yeah, it's starting to really like it looks like that was a good call. We get a move up, which is retraced, and now we get to see the real character of the market. So now we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days where each day the bears can't push it down below the low of the previous day. So what I mean by that is that if you're a bear trying to short it here today, you want to see it break the previous low. That's your first, oh, I didn't fuck up kind of moment. And when we start to see signs of this going 4 or 5 days in a row, we can reasonably expect a second leg after a big pullback. So reasonably, this should have started a pullback here, right? This looked like the highest probability was to do something like that, right? We didn't get that. So this candle right fucking here, it looked like we were going to do this, but instead we did that. So we're starting to accumulate. So what you should be doing with price action is develop a hypothesis. What's the highest probability thing? And every day you get another bit of evidence. Is it living up to that thesis, or am I disproving it? How am I weighting my thesis? So we might have started off at like 55%. Now we're up to 60. By here, it's really, the turd is smelling right. Like, you know. Now, let's look here. Big bar, up close. We've got 3 up closes in a row. We got a big one. We got a medium. We got a small E. So what does that tell us? Big picture structure, we've got a resumption of a bull market. We've got this on the cards. We can reasonably be expecting one of those. But in the very short term, we're the little engine that's running out of puff here, right? We can reasonably expect a pullback. What sort of a pullback will we get? Well, no one fucking knows. But I would say if the pullback doesn't get to here, the bull market structure is completely intact. I would say if the pullback gets to here, it would still be the early stages of a bull market. Like a bull market that hasn't happened yet. Here's where I'm going to differ from Ian, and I'm probably going to differ from Maurizio. This shows all the signs. Sentiment-wise, cunt still hated. Price action-wise, I'm going to show you some of the internals of the market in a minute. But this shows all the signs of being a rip-roaring, no place to get on, no significant pullbacks. Like one of them ones where the pullbacks are like 2 days and it just, if you weren't in the market, you were fucked. Like you just got to, at some point, you just got to hold your nose and buy. I reckon we're here. That's what I reckon. Now, I think we're going to pull back today. If we got a single bar hammer candle, a thing that looks like this, which is so a candle that's shaped like this is a failed attempt to drive the market down, right? That's like the bears blowing their load and you got fucking nothing. They took their best shot and it just bounced off. If we get that, fuck, you gotta even use leverage now. If we get 2 or 3 days, that's still pretty good. Even if we got a weak pullback, it would still be quite bullish. I think we find out today exactly how bullish it is. I'm betting on a hammer candle. I think a hammer candle, so in a philosophical sense, markets exist to fuck the most amount of people out of their money. What's going to fuck the most amount of people out of their money right now is cunts thinking short-term top. I'm going to sell out here. I'm going to time the dip. I'm going to get back in here. I'm going to zig. I'm going to zag. I'm going to catch every move. I think that's the sucker play. I think trying to catch every move here is going to catch everyone offside. I think there's every chance that we paint a hammer candle either here or the next day and just bullshit up. And, exactly like Ian said, this diagonal line, very significant. We have a series of stop losses. By the way, you can still get FinRev with the deal until it hits this line. There's going to be a bunch of stop losses at this line because we were in a downtrend, right? This was an obvious short. Cunts who held through this are thinking, oh, it's still, maybe it's still short, maybe it's still short. They'll be banking on this. Their stop losses are here. There's more stop losses here. There's more stop losses here. And obviously, there's breakout buyers, stop losses, a bunch of news articles about Bitcoin hitting all-time highs, a bunch of fucking normies saying, oh, wow, Bitcoin's back at 70K. And it's going to be the same old fucking story as you ever saw every fucking time. Hated it at 48K, fucking love it at 70. You can take that to the bank. We're just not getting any smarter as a species. You can see that once these first stop losses get triggered, they're going to cause some buying pressure. That's what stop losses getting executed are. They're buyers. Spins it to there. Gives it another little push up. Oh shit, triggered these. It's just pushing it down the stairs or up the stairs. Then we've got momentum on its side. Then everything's lined up. The election, the interest rates. Fuck, imagine if Trump wins. I don't like the prick, but fuck, if he wins, he's unashamedly pro-crypto. And even Kamala's had to alter her hater stance and cut off some of her hater points. You know, you don't want to get into the business of thinking you can predict the election. That's just a sucker's game. And American politics is just nuts anyway, so fuck all that. Here's the point that I'm trying to make. Markets exist to fuck the most amount of people. Everyone thinks that it's going to be Bitcoin first, then probably Solana, then alts, maybe get an alt season. I think it's going to do the other way around. I think we're here, where alts did the rip-roaring shit. So I think it's going to be alts first, not last this time. And why do I think that? I think because, frankly, alts have been disappointing. Let's look at some of my biggest holdings. Fucking Pendle, you've been a heartbreaker from $4.30 down to $1.78. Ugh. ENA, just way worse. I've got a huge position in this bitch.
ENA exists just to hate people.
Oh, it's a hate, and it's a beautiful product. It's growing total value locked every day. It's in every respect, both Pendle and ENA are standout DeFi projects of this cycle. Think they can fucking go up? Fuck these cunts. Now, let's look at the price action, particularly of ENA. We're looking for a very strong edge is the sequence of bars where it doesn't break the previous day's low, indicating that, and what you want to see is some selling pressure, but failing every single day. That means that the bears are just on the ropes. Every day the bears are getting punched, and eventually they fucking give up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 in a row. You just don't see strings like that. Anytime you see that, you can bet that the first pullback is a very, very strong buy. I like this now. The only reason I haven't sold it is because I like it more now at 38 cents than I did at $1.20. I bought it at $1. And it's been hateful. This, what I want to point out. Okay, so I've had a bunch of questions about how to do these spaghetti charts. Let me show you how. So what you want to do is take the recent daily low, and we're going to move our cursor over here and go, okay, that was around 6th of September. I don't want it on 24 hours. I want to move this. I want to have it on whatever time frame. It doesn't really matter. that I can get a decent granular view with the 6th of September on the hard left edge of the screen. So here we are. That's the 8th. You can see where the lows are. So I find the lows, and I'm going to mark these lows with a vertical line. I'm going to put that vertical line. Actually, let me make it bigger so you can see it. There we go. So I'm going to put that right here. And I'm going to say, well, what do we got here? Got to admit, I thought Sui was a VC scam. I thought PopCat was the strongest meme, and we saw it early on here. We saw early PopCat outperformance. We saw early Sui performance. We saw early Say performance. We've seen early Pendle. What do you notice here? Sui, new VC coin. PopCat, cult meme coin. SEI, I forget what it does, but it's some VC bullshit. Pendle, great DeFi coin. Aave, dinosaur Evo, DeFi coin. FET, leading AI coin. Rune, one we hold. PHP, one we've held in the past. Pepe, strongest Ethereum meme. What do you guys see with that in the chat, please? Rich, what do I think about Sui? I think Maurizio is a much better person to ask than me. I'm more of a quant nerd. Maurizio is much better on fundamentals than me. Todd sees a bit of everything. Marlon sees a lot of memes. Andrew sees a mixed bag. Jason sees most coins are beating BTC. So this is important. So this is why I disagree with Ian on the Bitcoin dominance call. Because Bitcoin's going up, but these other motherfuckers going up faster. Hardly any coins are not beating it. I think, is it strong coins at the top? Sui's a reasonable coin. Pendle's a great coin. PopCat's a good for a meme. Rune's a great coin. Aave's a great coin with the leading DeFi coin by far. FET's a great coin. Nia, I mean, everything's pretty good. Everything's going up. The rising tide is floating every boat. So we're not categorically not seeing what we saw at the start of this year with a Bitcoin, then a Solana, then a Solana memes, and then everyone's waiting for altcoins and got fucked. That's all I've got. I'm really interested in what Maurizio's got to say because I haven't been doing. Oh, one more thing.
Oh, this is back.
It's back. There we go.
I hate you. I love you. I hate you.
Ricardio's in total control, son. And what we're seeing now, check this shit out. Oh, I blocked Twitter. People are doing real world graffiti on the streets of everywhere with Retardio stuff. There was a Retardio rave in Warsaw yesterday. The holders are just continuing to go up. Like, this is a coin that's becoming a main. Retardio is becoming like Airbnb. It's becoming like a word. So when the kids start calling people Retardios, you'll know that it's on. And this was always the bet. It's the cult meme of crypto. Some of the biggest influencers in crypto have started to sign all their tweets with Retardio. I think Retardio is a lock for 1 billion market cap. I think it's a reasonable shot at 2 billion market cap, and I think it's an outside shot if we get a bull market. If we get a real alt season, it's an outside shot at 5 billion. And if you got this fucking dumbass Retardio shit at 5 billion, you'd sell it and retire, right? Like that's 100x from here. That's all I've got to say about that matter.
Wow. Yeah, everything looks good. Let me just show you what I have for you guys, because I've been doing a lot of stuff. Like I was telling Ian that obviously I was very tempted last week to go in on leverage and stuff like that, but I think there is danger to actually go into too much leverage at this point. We are, I think, a little bit overextended. So I've been sort of holding back a little bit, because that's the kind of feeling that you get when the FOMO in. I'm paying close attention to the open interest. We'll show you guys. And hopefully if we get a shakeout, then that will be the second time to actually go into leverage. So we went into a few really good leverage positions a couple of weeks ago. We'll show you what we went into. And that position, those positions that we went into, they're working fantastically well. So you cannot catch pretty much everything, right? Because obviously you're going to get over leverage. But if you do some, I'm going to take you through my thinking, and I think if we keep doing that thinking, we will be doing really well with some of the next positions that we're going to get this week. So let me just share my screen. But let me start with, do you guys see my screen now? No.
Yeah.
Let me just go through the mains first. So yeah, the interesting thing about the mains, and I do support Scott's theory in terms of the alts sort of want to outperform Bitcoin. So in terms of, if we have a look at the dominance, right? And Bitcoin dominance is the Bitcoin dominance from the daily. But if we look at it, if we look at this from the weekly perspective, I'm going to show you from the weekly perspective. So this is the weekly of dominance of Bitcoin, but the difference is on the weekly of alts. So essentially what I'm saying is this is kind of the from, if we plot this together, right, from where alts just dropped completely, which is of November of 21st, right? We play from there, we can actually see a lot of strength. And let me just make it a little bit, because I've been thinking about this for a while, and I do think that now people want to buy alts, like, you know, because they do know the potential of Bitcoin, but in terms of risk reward, I think alts is going to be a crazy bet for Bitcoin. So that's, you sort of see that the Bitcoin dominance sort of stays, and when this goes up like crazy, I think we are at that stage as well. So we are at that stage that that total threes actually wants to break up, and Bitcoin is going to sort of slowly grind, and I think alts are just going to be very, very bullish this term. And especially the only downside that I have in terms of fundamentals, which is, you know, just my thinking, nothing to back it up or anything, is elections, right? And obviously, I think as we get close to elections, I think we're going to get a lot of volatility. We're going to get a lot of ups and downs, shakes up. Like one day Kamala is first, and then next day Trump is first, so you're gonna see the crypto reaction going quickly. So I'm just doing a list of very interesting things that I want to get into leverage if we get that sort of stuff, shakeouts and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my kind of supportive thing for what you say, Scott, in terms of, I do really like
Let me double down on that point here. If we get a shakeout, if you get one of these like 10% down day candles, you see the market tanking. If you see it tanking extra hard on like an hour chart or a 5-minute chart, that's the time to go long on leverage. That That's what we're actually waiting for. So what
Exactly.
I'd like to do, fingers crossed, hope for a crash. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed, hope
you
for
know, and in terms of our position, that's why I'm holding off a little bit on the leverage. So I did take some stuff. So let's go through Bitcoin first, because something that is going to happen tomorrow is we're going to have the monthly close on everything, right? So we're going to have a monthly close. Oh, is that tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow is the monthly close. So from the monthly perspective, if we look at total 3, you can start seeing sort of the switching hands. So now you can start seeing a bullish momentum going, right? Like, if this total 3 closes like this, just like that tomorrow, is very, very bullish. It's like, overpowered. You cannot actually get more bullish than that. You can get a monthly pullback and then off you go, right? Kind of like a textbook sort of pullback trend from the monthly perspective, right? From Bitcoin, you get sort of a really interesting, this high here, which is the 64,000-ish level. You can see that was the highest high that we had since April 21st. If we close above that, it gets bullish, man. Like, obviously, you see the momentum there. So there's no questions asked. Can we get pullbacks? Obviously, within a month, you guys can see what things can happen. So within this month, we opened up at 64. We came down all the way down to 49, and then we closed at here. So, be careful in terms of, the bullish sentiment and going to big on leverage, because you can't actually get wiped out, especially coming into the elections. I think is going to be a lot of.
So let's quantify that. How much do you think?
How much do I think about? Sorry, sir.
How much do you think is too much? And Bitcoin leverage.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Is different than altcoins. If you're on like normal sized altcoins, what should you be? What should you start to think this is too much? Okay,
so from the leverage perspective, I always do a invalidation point in terms of actually, if it goes below this, so I size my positions accordingly, as we show you guys on the leverage course.
But I mean,
right? Like, how do I actually do that?
A max leverage finger in the air, like how many is too many positions?
I will say 4 positions at, if you risk, because I've got a risk. So if you risk more than 3% per position, like if you go 40% of your account or 50%, that's way too much. You know what I mean? Like that's way too much in terms of leverage. And that doesn't, like, yeah, for the guys that done the leverage course, we go in depth on that, how to size it accordingly. Why? Because, right, there's different things in terms of risk and in terms of like 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x. That doesn't mean anything if you don't know how to leverage, how to change your positions.
If you want to hold a coin, if you think it's going to be a bull market and you want to use leverage and you want to ride that fucker right to the beach, and you're picking a normal, like say you pick Pendle, where would you place your stop loss right now if you wanted to hold it for the beach?
I'll show you a very example, because we did that with Say. Exactly with Say, which, by the way, let me just, like, this is a screenshot of where we are in Say. Do you see it? That's our position that we took in Say. That's our real stuff. Okay, so let me show you exactly to solve that question.
Trump double hand job for that. Jerking two guys off. Two guys off. There you go.
All right, so let me just show Say, because Say is it was an interesting trade, and I'm writing in like that. So yeah, so let me. Okay, one day. This is the daily, and we went into I went into 2 positions. One with 4-hour sort of stop loss kind of deal, and another one with a daily. All right, so essentially, if you think about it from the perspective, why we went into Say, and by the way, on Sui, I did take that trade at the beginning, but I got it stopped out, and then it went out. Like, you know what I mean? But then it didn't happen with Say. So that's one of the things that I, in terms of leverage, that if you get it stopped out, you get it stopped out. But if you don't have that size accordingly, therefore, so this is on the right, you got the 4-hour on the daily. So for instance, if you want to risk 3% per position, right, you can go higher than that when you actually have more experience. then you do 1% and 1% or 3% or 3%. That would be 6% for the whole total trade. So with this one, usually from the 4 hours, you can actually see it like, that's when you actually go really a little bit higher on leverage. You can actually see this chart ready to pop. Like you can actually see these levels holding pretty well. Sui was actually doing well. I did an extensive video on why I think Sui and Sei are very similar in terms of how they trade, in terms of actually that. So that supports a lot of why I went into it. And then, so essentially from the 4 hours, you can just put the stop loss, the lowest low that you can actually see a few steps back, or you can actually use the ATR to size it accordingly. And from the daily, same deal. So from the daily, I went through here, and you put it from the lowest low from the daily sort of stuff, right? You can actually just do it from here. I went a little bit up in risk, but then that's it. Then what it is when you actually want to write it up, I took some profits around here, and then you move your stop loss on the break even. Doesn't matter what happened, this thing keeps going, and that's the kind of leverage plays that I like to take. Doesn't happen all the time.
Get into that a little bit about taking some profits is because look at the ATR as it's gone up. So your volatility is going up. So as volatility rises, your acceptable position size shrinks. So taking profits as it moves, as volatility rises and it moves in your favor is actually what pros do. So what Maurizio's done there is like a ham-fisted version of what all the pros do. Like if you're working in SIG or Jane Street, they'd be insisting that you're banking a little bit every day and watching it all day every day, and passing the position off at the end of the day to some other motherfucker who watches it all night. That would be the gold standard. But as long as the risk management that you'll actually do is much better than the perfect risk management that you'll never fucking do. So what Maurizio's done there, you shouldn't be YOLOing all the way. Like when you have a winner, you should be banking some, at least get the money.
Because essentially, and obviously depends how big you go into leverage. You're going to, if you don't take profits, you will not be able to use that profit in order to keep trading. And you know what I mean? So obviously your capital gets tied up. So essentially I took some profit here. I think today is not a bad idea to keep banking a little bit on this one, by the way. So if you guys are in this trade, right, I'm going to take some profit on the daily now. I took profit on this one, but now I'm going to take on the daily and then move the stop loss, and then that's it off the table. I'm completely risk free on this one. So good trades yesterday, but then obviously, as you can see, we are overextended. There's a lot of volatility now happening, right? People buying, people selling, people buying, people selling. So this is kind of, really, really good places to get into with leverage is with with low volatility gets. But now volatility is a little bit too high. We need to wait until it gets reset a little bit, and then we'll get into more really interesting leverage trades. So yeah, so that's in essence, same thing. So obviously, if we talk about Pendle, right? So Pendle, and let's talk about Pendle. So Pendle, if I want to do a leverage position right now, it's actually not bad, as you can see on the daily. Let me just on the daily, you can actually see that the volatility is not as high. So, and you could actually treat it as a breakout sort of style, and then a very sensible stop or sizing accordingly will be around here. Or if you want to really ride this one, I will put at least a stop loss or size it accordingly here. You know what I mean? Like it's just a really, really long way to go, but we're very close to these all-time highs, right? Not all-time highs, sorry, this kind of level. So that's where a lot of people tend to take profits. How deep this is going to go, we don't know. We just don't know. And it's like Sui. Like if I show you Sui, because I've been trying to get into Sui for a while.
Can we dig into that? We just don't know shit a little bit more, because we all look at the charts and we draw lines on charts, and you get in your head this idea it's going to do this, then it's going to do that, then it's probably going to do this. But what it does is dependent on a whole pile of other things that we have no fucking control over.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like,
And
election news, Trump getting shot
Mhm.
at, fucking some weird shit in the vice presidential debate, war kicks off in Iran, all kinds of shit will cause the thing to wiggle. So any sort of idea that we know, that's cope. Like that's honestly, that's all we've, when we say we think something's going to happen, we're like 65-35 at the absolute most.
Mhm.
And the problem with the 35 is that when the 35% happens, catches people the wrong way. When it catches people, anything catches people the wrong way causes a bigger move. So if we
Mhm.
got, if we're expecting a small pullback and we got a big pullback, that could cause an even bigger pullback just because no one's fucking expecting it.
Correct. Mhm.
I think the highest probability is a small pullback and just run
Mhm.
away with it. That's what I think is going to happen. But when I think
Mhm.
so a useful trick is ask yourself the odds of something and then calibrate it back. So when it feels like 75% chance that we're going to rip and run here, it's probably 60 to 65 in the real world.
Mhm.
And that's a useful way to think of it. Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. No, that's perfect. And because a lot of people might think, so it's just depends on how the market reacts at certain levels that you think is, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what we're looking for, or that's what I look for in terms of actually either buy or like, especially on leverage, because now it's getting very interesting to do that sort of game, right? Like before I was just doing spot. And by the way, this week I'm going to keep adding a few stuff in spot. Spot thinking is a different thinking that when you actually do leverage. I do, it's a different sort of game. With the spot, you don't worry about this risk. If you have a little bit of drawdown, that's fine. But with leverage, be mindful that if you go in too many positions, you can get your wiped. Your account can be wiped on one single finger candle on all the way down, right? And it could happen on one day. Okay, so have that in mind when you actually. Scott, you're muted.
You think it can't happen to you, but it's happened to me. So anyone who
Yeah,
says,
it's happened to me as well. Yeah,
a few times.
and it
Happened to
doesn't
you
feel
if it
good,
can
man.
happen to me. You feel like it.
It-
Oh, you try doing it with public wallets when you're fucking making calls on this shit. Like you feel like a dumb cunt. Well, oh boy.
so guys, be careful on that. So obviously size and obviously if you guys been on the leveraged course, I go in extensively how I do the portfolios, how do I manage different spot leverage and different things. So money management is highly advisable. You know what I mean? Depends on how you're going to trade. So okay, so coming back into this, right, into the pendulum thing. So what I'm looking for, you can actually go into a breakout trade if this breaks this high. So if you have a daily, right, like if you have a, now that we're in the bullish sort of run, you can actually see or spot the last highs. And then if we have a high that actually breaks that and market has momentum, you can definitely go into sort of something that is called a breakout trade. And how do you size a breakout trade? Let me show you what I did with Rune, because we did a breakout trade on Rune and we did a breakout trade on BIM last week. It's some of them like it's not working as I was expecting, but I haven't been stopped out. So check this out. This is the trade on Rune. We are in it, by the way. I haven't taken any profits. I was very close to taking profit, but as you can see what you can do here. So for instance, we have this breakout, right? I actually enter a little bit late, to be honest. I enter around here, but then where do you size, or where do you put your stop loss, or where do you make sure that you're wrong in terms of that the market has turned around, right? Around these lows in a way, and then you size accordingly. We are still on this trade. This is a breakout trade, but obviously breakout trades will not be that will not allow you to use as much leverage as the the RTVs or the RTCs, all those retests that we actually take, because those ones are actually very risk averse, really good risk reward for risk, very, very high risk reward. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm watching in the market now is for breakouts, right? If we get pullbacks, let me show you all the stuff that I'm watching because there's a bunch of different good stuff that we can. So obviously I'm watching FTM. FTM hasn't been able to actually break this high. If we manage to get a pullback around this area, that will be massively great to actually do a leverage trade on that. SUI, right? SUI seems like it doesn't want to stop. Now, this is kind of the mechanism that, you never know how big of a pullback you're going to get. But if we do get a shakeout, more than likely with this sort of list of strong coins that I'm pointing here, you might get like a candle that does this, shakes everybody out. Let me just draw it. You can get, one second. You get a candle that does like this and then comes back. So you get a lot of people that wants to buy that here. How you can play that? You can either set up your limit orders right now. You can actually, if you want to get into this sort of, it's going to be a shakeout. I can't, how big of a shakeout? I have no idea, but I do think it's going to, crypto, it is. This is kind of the first time that this thing is going to, this is the first sort of bull run that we've seen on like at the start of a bull run that we've seen. And a lot of people are anticipating the Q4 sort of narrative in terms of, Q4 is going to be the greatest. Can things turn around? Of course, can turn around at some stuff. So that's what I'm waiting for in these things here. By the way, we went on Beam as well. Let me talk about Beam. So Beam was another breakout trade. I entered late, by the way. There was a trade. So this one is actually working well. I'm thinking, I'm monitoring this one quite closely. If this one breaks this level in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to leave it and perhaps start taking some profits around this area. And obviously I'm combining.
The volatility on that trade is so low now. If it starts to move in your favor, I think the volatility is going to continue to move in your favor, and I wouldn't be in a hurry to take profits on that one. That looks like a banger, dude. Yeah, I agree. So I'm still monitoring this one. So we are in good trades, but I'm still holding up, especially there's some economic data and stuff happening this week. So it might shake some stuff out, and that will provide us with other opportunities to actually get into more leverage stuff happening. So I'm excited. Like this is the time to actually get this sort of short-term, medium trading stuff because it's fun, man. It's fun. Yeah. But then don't go too big. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Don't go too big, man. As a general rule, 5x leverage is a lot. Total leverage. Not in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's its own separate thing. It trades more like a TradFi thing now. But if you're talking about alts, 5x leverage is quite a lot. You can use more leverage at the start of a move than at the end of the move. You get away with less leverage if you're using what's called higher beta coins. So what I mean is that dog with hat is like Solana on steroids. So using dog with hat on leverage or Pepe on leverage is like using steroids on steroids. So
exactly.
So as a gut thing, probably comfortable is 3.5 to 4 right now. Total leverage down a little bit if you're using really crazy shit coins. Up a little bit if you're using the Solanas and the BNBs and the shit and the AVAXs and shit like that. As the move goes on, as it's been going on for a while, you don't really want to be above 3 to 1 because 30% can knock you out, and these alts can crash 30% in the small alts can crash 30% in a 20% overall alt crash. Your alts could tip 30% and whack your stop loss. Fuck you, you're out of the game. Remember, you build 100 bridges, and then you suck one cock. You're not a bridge builder anymore. This is
right.
infinite.
There you go. That's philosophy right there, man. Like that's just yeah.
That's deep wisdom. You guys are all paying for this. Write it down. Build 100 bridges, and you suck one lousy cock.
Oh man. All right. So yeah, that's basically what but in terms of what I'm watching
Great,
for this week, guys.
great session, dude.
Yeah, no, it is getting exciting, and I'm combining this with the narrative. So I missed Sui
What
completely,
narratives?
and
What narratives do you
all
see
right,
going? What do you
let me
like?
show you because I'm doing a lot of research on the narratives and let me this thing. Give me 1 second. Let me just delete this. All right. So in terms of narratives, right? And as you know, there was this conference last week on Singapore, the crypto 2049 stuff like that. I have some friends and the insiders and stuff like that. There is a lot of traction on the AI projects. Okay, so all AI is going to like crypto is going to go nuts for AI. Okay, so what I'm doing at the moment is actually doing a list of very low cap AI projects that are coming out. Okay, and on top of that, there's going to be a lot of Q4 releases. Like a lot of projects right now, they didn't want to sort of mention what they were doing in the bear market because obviously they will not be able to actually expand that from the fundamental perspective as a company of any project. They say, they holding back all the releases to Q4. Okay, which is now like Q4 starts tomorrow. Okay. So I do think that a lot of people are fronting the Q4 narrative and we could see a really interesting shakeout. So that's why I'm preparing all these, like I have like small market caps AI stuff and big market cap stuff AI, right? So obviously I'm just doing a list of all the big market cap that if we get a pullback, then I do want to get into it, probably on the spot, right? Or depends on how the market goes.
Tao. What do you think of Tao?
Oh, I love Tao, man. I missed it completely. I've been talking about it for a while, and then something happened. I wanted to actually buy around this. I did talk about it several times, man, and it wasn't my list, and I completely missed it. And obviously, which by the way, if I buy this, I think I'm going to start buying this on spot, and then I'm going to be very wary on any shakeouts to actually accumulate a little bit more because Tao, in terms of Tao, the fundamentals aspect of it and the infrastructure, there's a lot of people building on Tao, which, by the way, I'm doing a list of projects that are going to be launched on Tao as betas. So as you can see, there's a lot of interesting things that happen when a network or when a blockchain or when a narrative actually jumps out. And Tao now seems to be the strongest thing on AI. So there's a lot of projects that are going to be launched on Tao, right? As on top of Tao, on top of the network, on top of the infrastructure, right? So those ones could be better plays for the Tao narrative going upside. So one of those is actually this one, Sept Tao. So they're building very interesting project on Tao. I'm gonna go in depth this week, but I'm following this one closely, and this one could be one of the biggest sort of beta plays on this one. And that's what's kind of what I did with Sui and Sei, because Sui went away from me, and so I was looking for what are the beta plays, what are the next thing that it could actually go after Sui, because Sui is already won. So that's why I wanted to say. So with that being said, we did buy the this is very low cap. Like I'm putting this list of very low cap AI projects that it could actually, this is not an AI project, by the way, my bad. Take this one away from this one. But I have NMT, Heart, this one, it is low cap that it could actually be massive. Obviously, you can't actually do this on futures. They don't have futures yet, which is really good because no one can actually short it. So those one will be a really interesting that I'm following.
That looks amazing. That looks great.
This one, it has a massive following. I think I'm gonna issue a signal today to buy this one. I'm gonna buy this one, by the way. I just had it this morning. I was doing some more research on all the AI. Be mindful that obviously all these lockups will suffer if we do have a shakeout. So have that in mind as well. So obviously, yeah. But stuff that I'm doing is just putting my list just to get ready when we get actually all those shakeouts. If they don't happen, then my play will be to actually go into the betas. You know what I mean? Like all the stuff that we can capitalize on. So yeah, just take a screenshot or whatever on this list. I'll be publishing this tomorrow anyway. I'll be changing a few things and I'll be putting so much stuff. But something that I want to highlight today, because we might, I'm looking closely to APT. So APT is Aptos, and this is a layer 1. So now we have SUI say all these layer 1s, DY, DX, ARB gaining sort of momentum. Aptos is been building a bunch of different things that I think this one could be the next sort of, if SUI and say keeps continuity, I think this could be my leverage play for the week, to be honest. We could definitely get it stopped out, by the way. But because, yeah, I'm still seeing that we have a little bit of an extension, but this will be a really, really good play on Aptos. It could be the next narrative pointing into the layer 1s. With that being said, now I've been talking about that one, which is Thala, DHL, which is the DeFi on Aptos. Okay, so this one will be my beta play on that one. Because think about it from the perspective, I did, last week I talked about it. So SUI went nuts completely, and Cetus, which is the DeFi on SUI, right, actually went really nuts, and I missed it. So that will be my play on Aptos and Thala. So I think that could be a very, very similar narrative. If Aptos keeps going up, then Thala could do the same beta aspect of it. So yeah, I'll be playing Constellation. So yeah, building my lists as I go. I might get into some positions, but yeah, that's what I have. Very exciting. Been spending a lot of time, especially with price action in the markets and looking at it, because price action is now getting interesting. Now is the time to actually do price action stuff, which is good.
Which is a huge shout out to the daily videos that you produce, and a reminder for everybody, get stuck into them. They are just full of gems and wisdom, and everything you enjoyed this morning on this call is in those daily videos. So bravo, Maurizio.
Thanks.
Nice. Well, that was
Wonderful, Maurizio. This was just, you two, Ian, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Give yourselves a Trump jerking two guys off. Go on. Jerk them off. Jerk them off. Right in the face. Right in the face.
Yeah, man,
there we go.
Oh man, there you go. There you go.
Give me out that easily. All right. Pleasure. See everybody in the
Bye,
group.
guys.
Thanks, Maurizio.
See you guys. Okay.